All right, why don't we move on to our next story, because we do talk quite a bit about the PRO Act here over at Jacobin, over at Weekends. And we at first had about 5 Senate Democrats who were holding out on the legislation. Now there are 3. I want to talk about one of them, and that's Senator Mark Kelly. So at this point, there are 3 Senate Democrats who have not signed on to the PRO Act. Now, as we know, the PRO Act is an important piece of legislation that would expand labor protections. It's something that we've talked about in great detail on this show. Nando did a great decode segment on it, so make sure you check that out. One of the Democratic senators who's against it or hasn't signed on to it yet is Senator Mark Kelly. And Ryan Grimm over at The Intercept did a fantastic report talking about some of the conflicts of interest at play here, some of the potential conflicts that could corrupt Senator Kelly's decision in whether he supports this legislation or not. So Ryan Grimm writes that Senator Mark Kelly enjoyed a 5-year paid seat on the board of the restaurant franchise company Landry's, which owns eateries like Morton's, the Steakhouse, and Bubba Gump Shrimp Company. Also, Kelly served on Landry's board from February of 2013 to August of 2017 and disclosed compensation of more than $5,000. There are no public records indicating exactly how much he was paid, but Securities and Exchange Commission filings show that in 2009, the last year Landry's filed SEC disclosures, board members had been paid about $120,000 annually in stock and cash, which would put Kelly's total compensation north of $500,000, $500,000 for the part-time work. And so there's more detail into this and just how, how involved he was with the restaurant industry and how much of a role that could be playing in his decision here. But I wanted to bring you guys in and get your thoughts.
Well, how do you apply for a job like that to get paid $500,000 for part-time work? That's pretty nice work if you could find it.
That's right. I mean, that's like, again, I mean, it's the league. We talk a lot about campaign donations, and obviously that's a factor in politicians deciding what to legislate on. But the other thing is just straight up like, who's paying me? Like who's paying me directly, not donating to my campaign. Like who's putting money in my pocket? Like we don't call that bribery, but it's what it is. It's legalized bribery, straight up.
It is. And look, this is stuff that he was involved in prior to getting elected in the Senate. But I think that voters need to be a little more aware of previous job. Like with Trump, for instance. One of the talking points that you would hear from Trump supporters was, well, he's a successful businessman. And I think Americans are conditioned to believe that, first of all, he wasn't a successful businessman. So let's get that out of the way. But for those who believe that he was, right, we got to get past thinking that successful businessmen would make great leaders for a country. They're actually the opposite of that. I mean, all Trump did was use the office of the presidency to enrich himself, find ways to transition money from the federal government over to his personal properties. And in the case of Mark Kelly, you have someone who has a history working for the restaurant industry and making quite a bit of money in the restaurant industry. And they're not just looking out for their buddies. They're also looking out for their future, right? Like Mark Kelly is thinking about what he's going to do once he's done serving in Congress, if you can call it that. And so it's that revolving door. And it's also the fact that these lawmakers are able to invest in individual stocks while they're in Congress. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Any successful businessman to be in politics. No. I only want
Agreed.
unemployed losers who, are estranged from their son and are trying to shuck a Eugene Debs documentary that no one wants to watch. Yes, I'm talking about Bernie Sanders, incredibly just a deadbeat guy in his 30s who had achieved nothing in his life. Then all of a sudden becomes the mayor of Burlington and is the greatest politician that we've had in our lifetime. So yeah, the model is be an unemployed loser. That's the guy I'm supporting, not any successful businessman. That's the last person I would ever want to support.
And to that point, I wish voters could understand that, like, a board member on some restaurant conglomerate has nothing in common with the people who actually work at the restaurant, right? Meaning the vast majority of his constituency are people like those restaurant workers, and he is against them. Period. He doesn't give a damn about what these people need and what they want because he's a freaking board member. And you're going to elect this guy to be senator from your state? Like it just doesn't make any sense. He's of the class of people who are oppressing us. It's ridiculous.
Well, let me give you more. There's so many good tidbits in this piece, so I highly recommend you guys read it. But I'll give you a few more details right now. So for instance, in 2015, in the midst of Kelly's board service, Landry's rolled out a forced arbitration agreement to its workforce, requiring them to sign away the ability to unite as a class in a lawsuit and agree to have any disputes handled by arbitration. And so obviously the PRO Act is not favorable to that method of employees holding their employers accountable. Also, another leading industry opponent is the National Restaurant Association, of which Landry's is a member. And when it comes to the pretty bitter defeat of the $15 an hour minimum wage, the Restaurant Association was really front and center in ensuring that it was defeated. So all of this plays a role in the quality of life and the quality of our workplaces. And we need to be aware of that. We need to be aware of the ties that these individuals have to businesses as opposed to the ties they have to their own constituents, right? Like he's not going to look out for the best interests of his constituents when there's money involved, there's money on the line, and the people that he's closest to are the very individuals who are fighting against our best interests.
Amen. No, it was a great story by Ryan Grimm. It'll be interesting to see if again, I'm not saying that the PRO Act is going to happen. I'm not even saying that there's an above 50% chance it's going to happen. I'm not even saying that there's a 20% chance that it's going to happen, but it's probably closer than you would think given the size of that legislation and the historic nature. I mean, it would be just a total game changer. It would be the most significant piece of legislation since the 1935 Wagner Act for the help of workers. So the fact that it's even just a few people, a few human beings away, from potentially passing is just it's remarkable. Again, I'm not saying that those barriers are easy to overcome, but this is the kind of thing that 10, 20 years ago it wouldn't even be in the discussion, like this. I mean, we haven't really been in the discussion in a long, long time.
Not in Bill Clinton's Democratic Party.
No.
Yeah,
certainly
that's
not.
true.
Or in Barack Obama's.
Or you mean Tim Geithner?
Yeah.